He interrupted my father's funeral to announce his own surprise engagement. So I made sure his five-star destination wedding turned into a televised investigation of his charity foundation. I know that sounds like I'm a villain in a Victorian novel, but let's be real. Some people are so addicted to the spotlight they'd try to outshine a funeral pyre. Hear me out, because this one is a slow-cooked dish of pure karma. Let me introduce you to my brother, Julian. Julian was the golden child of our family, mostly because he was a professional liar with a high-end haircut. He had this way of tilting his head and looking concerned while he was actually calculating how to steal your credit card info. He ran a nonprofit that supposedly built wells in developing countries, but the only thing he was actually building was a luxury portfolio and a circle of high-society friends who loved his philanthropic spirit. The betrayal happened at our father's memorial service. It was a somber, quiet affair, exactly what Dad wanted. But halfway through the eulogy, Julian stood up. I thought he was going to share a memory. Instead, he pulled his girlfriend to the front, dropped to one knee, and proposed. In a room full of grieving relatives, he literally said, "Dad would have wanted us to celebrate life today." Then he spent the rest of the wake showing off the 4-carat ring and talking about their upcoming wedding in Lake Como. I was gutted. My grief was treated like an opening act for his romance. When I pulled him aside to tell him how disrespectful he was, he patted my cheek and said, "Don't be bitter, sis. Not everyone can be the main character. Maybe if you did more for the world like I do, you wouldn't be so miserable." That main character comment was the exact moment I decided to cancel his show. I'm a data analyst for a global financial firm. I spend my days looking at patterns that don't make sense. Julian's Clean Water Initiative made 0 sense. I spent the next 8 months digging into his foundation's public filings and some not-so-public offshore accounts. It turns out Julian wasn't building wells. He was building a Ponzi scheme where new donations paid for his private jets and his fiancée's designer wardrobe. I didn't report him to the IRS immediately. No, that would be too quiet. I waited for the wedding in Lake Como. Julian had invited every major donor, 2 local news stations, and a handful of minor celebrities to his philanthropy gala and wedding. He wanted the ultimate PR stunt. He'd spent nearly $500,000 of the foundation's money on this weekend alone. I arrived at the villa looking like $1 million. I was the perfect supportive sister. On the night of the rehearsal dinner, I offered to help the tech crew with the tribute video Julian had prepared. He'd made a glossy, tear-jerking film about his work in Africa to guilt the guests into a final round of donations before the vows. The dinner was lavish. Julian stood up, looking smug in a custom tuxedo. "And now," he announced, "a look at the lives we've changed this year." The lights dimmed, the video started. For the first 30 seconds, it was the standard footage of Julian smiling next to a dusty truck. Then the screen flickered. A spreadsheet appeared. It wasn't a tribute. It was a line-by-line breakdown of his foundation's expenses. Personal grooming, $12,000. Villa rental, $45,000. Engagement ring, $80,000. Actual well construction, $0. The room went silent. I'd also included the leaked audio of a phone call I'd recorded where Julian laughed about how stupid his donors were for funding his lifestyle.